So oftentimes people come to me and they say, Melissa, how do you do it? You have 3 kids that are 5 and under. You have a career. You are an elected official. And, oh yeah, a wife too. And I say exactly the same way that you all do it. Because here's the thing, we all have to get things done. Can we agree on that? Right? Just some of us, it looks as if we're marred in dust. We look exhausted. Life is just kicking our butts. We're just critical. And then there's others that I really feel it's either, whether it's naiveness or it's just pure wisdom, decide to embrace the chaos and the craziness of life. Now, what I'm going to share with you today, I am not at all perfect at by any stretch. I fail on these things often. But what I found is that once I realize what allows me to get a lot done, I start to be more intentional and have more and more successes on it. So think of it this way and think of life this way. How many of us are stick-shift car drivers? Anyone? Okay, cool. So stick-shift car drivers, do we remember our first hill? Scary, right? Because we've got to be able to balance the clutch and the gas. So my first hill, I was at Geneseo, and I was going up Court Street. I was going up to the top of the hill, and it's a blinking red light. And I'm hoping, I'm praying, I'm thinking, I hope that no one crosses Main Street, because if they don't, then I can just kind of glide right through that red light. So what ends up happening? Cars come, and guess what? I have to stop. First place I look is my rear view mirror, right? Who's behind me? Whose car can I potentially crash? And I look, and I kid you not, it was a silver Mercedes. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, you can't make this stuff up. And so the entire time I'm thinking, okay, should I just throw the emergency brake up? Should I get out of the car? Should I balance? Should I get out of first gear? There's so many things that I was thinking of. Should I get out of the car and tell the Mercedes, move back, I need some room? And I made it through. But isn't that how life is? A lot of things, they just come at us. And we have to say, you know what? I focus so much on that rear view mirror, looking at that silver Mercedes and hoping and praying with beads of sweat that I would be able to move forward and not hit the Mercedes. Which one's bigger, the windshield or the rear view mirror? Yeah, and when life hits us, a lot of times we want to revert back and look at the rear view mirror. So what I'm going to focus on are ways for us to be able to look through that windshield and to get into first gear. Sound good? Yes. Oh, that was a lively yes. That sound good. Thank you. All right. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to choose what all is. Yes, we cannot do it all. I wish that we could, but we can't. So what does all mean? We have to be able to establish what is our vision. What do we want? Where do we want to see ourselves in 1 to 2 years? How are we going to get there? So, because if we do that, then we can be more strategic in the opportunities that we take. My grandfather used to tell my father, Doug, the only thing people will give you is an opportunity. It's your choice what you do with it. So when we choose the right opportunities based on our all, our vision, then we can be able to move forward. So for instance, I was talking with my mentor, this was years ago, and I remember I was sitting with him and I said, I'm going to be a master trainer in 2 years. And he looked at me, and these were not his words at all. It was the tone that he used. It was like, oh, you whippersnapper, you. 2 years, it's going to take you at least 5. And so I was like, no, I think I can do it in 2. And so needless to say, I took some different stretch assignments, exposed myself to people that were real talent within the industry, as well as made myself visible with different people that would help with that climb. And I became the youngest master trainer in the world and the only Latina master trainer in North America. And I attribute that, thank you. Thank you. And because I knew where I was going. And I took some things off of my plate, and man, it was not easy, but it was important so I could create depth as opposed to breadth. The next thing, focus on gratitude. You know what? We are going to be running on fumes. We're going to be so frustrated, so irritated. It's just the way it is. So what do we need to do in order to keep us re-energized? It's so easy to focus on what's going wrong. It's very hard to focus when things are going wrong, what we're proud of, what we have great gratitude for. So what I say in my practice is 5 times a day. At night, as I'm putting the kids to sleep, I don't care what kind of a day it was, I focus on 5 things to keep myself going. And so one day I was asking Rafa, my 4-year-old son, I said, Rafa, why do we talk about the things we're thankful for? Because we do that every single day. And he said, and I'm thinking he's going to say, oh, to make us happy. And he says, so we can make better decisions, Mommy. I was like, what? You're 4. Come on. But isn't that true? It allows us to refocus. It allows us to take that risk that we may not have taken. But also, if we're feeling like we are running on fumes, it fills the tank up again. So focus on 5 a day in order to reinvigorate us. It's almost like a pep talk, an internal pep talk to build some resilience. And you know what? Sometimes it's easy to say this pep talk.
I can do it. I can get through this. I am strong. I have a good attitude.
Look at that big fat ice cream. Other days, it is so hard to muster up the energy to think of that.
I can do it. I can do it.
You just don't want to say it. Focus on the bad. But when we push ourselves, it's amazing what we can accomplish.
I can do it. I can do it. I can do fruit. I'm strong. I have great attitude.
So it's amazing the resilience we can build when we do focus on the positive so that we can continue to move forward. We may feel like we're starting to look back in that rearview mirror. In order to keep us forward, that's what we have to focus on. And when we do that, we can be more effective in the here and now, being present. Being day by day, hour by hour. A lot of time, 2 examples. One is I remember just like a month ago, I was taking the kids to daycare, and it was a horrible, horrible, nightmarish time at the daycare. They're both crying, and of course, one of them's sick, and you hate to leave your kids crying. And I go in the car, and tears start falling from my eyes, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And of course, who has a huge client presentation to give? Yes, this girl. And I just had to muster it up. I had to get myself focused, say, Melissa, stay focused on the windshield. Don't look back at that rear view mirror. And I just started to get myself focused by asking myself what questions I had to ask the client, what were my key points. From that, it was a fantastic presentation that we gave. But on the converse, when we're at home, our cell phones, they're pretty addictive, right? And I found myself, someone just friended me on Facebook. I got an email. And I found like they were interrupting the conversations or just the interactive time with my kids. And so now I put it aside for it could be an hour or 2. I'm not that important, So by doing that and compartmentalizing that time with my kids, I'm making moments as opposed to missing them. So being focused on the present, the here and now, what's in front of us. And lastly, being able to communicate. Now, communicate is such a pie-in-the-sky thing. So I'm going to make it a little bit more real for us with 2 key things that we need to do. 1, we need to ask for help. We need to wave the white flag. And us as Latinos, Latinas, we like to do it all. Right? But sometimes, whether it's that we're bleeding hearts or we know we can do it all, we have to be able to ask for help. So a quick example, I was coaching a woman in a program, and she says to me, Melissa, how do you do it all? And she said, because, I have so much to do. I feel so overwhelmed. And I talked to her about how my husband and I, on a weekly basis, we figure out the calendar, who's picking up the kids. I've got a board meeting at night, et cetera, et cetera. He's traveling. So we figure out what's going on. And then I said, sometimes by month. And she said, oh my gosh. She's like, well, I take care of all the calendar. I do all of this stuff. And she's like, shouldn't he want to ask for help? Doesn't he see that I'm drowning here? I was like, oh, that's sweet. No, he's not, because he's too busy with his all, getting his all done, and no news is good news, so you've got to raise your hand. On the reverse side, we have to, once we do ask for help, we have to let it go. Same program, a gentleman saw that this woman was struggling. He said, I'm going to do something in order to help my wife, because I bet you she's having the same issues. And so he went and he loaded the dishwasher that night. He was so proud of himself, and he said, of course, the dishwasher's done. He opens it, his wife opens it up, and she's like, well, what is this? This is a mess. You didn't even do it right. And he's like, are you kidding me? I'm trying to help. So, and isn't that the case? When we delegate it, when we give it to someone else to help us, let go of it. They're not going to do it the way that we want it to be done. End of story. And just be happy that they did it. And lastly, make sure we appreciate them so that they will want to help us again. Right? So I like lists. I'm a type A. And so we should be asking ourselves daily, just to sum this up, what have I prepared myself for my all? Have I been able to make movement towards it? What am I grateful for? That 5 a day. Did I have moments of presence? Because moments then become minutes, which become hours. And have I asked for help? But more importantly, have I thanked those people that have helped me? When we do these things, we can be able to look forward, get into first gear, get over that hill, enjoy the ride, and get our all done. Thank you so very much.